Education for the masses, not just for the ruling class.
Band together under a blue tattered sign that reads DePaul Students Against Debt. DePaulians, Occupy Chicago protesters, Student Government Association members, and others shout in solidarity outside of the university's Student Center.
To welcome you all on behalf of the Anti-Capitalist Coalition at DePaul to this public forum on the recent tuition hikes.
As of 2012, the university is imposing a 2.5 increase on current DePaul students and a 5.5 increase on incoming freshmen. The fight to address university officials began March 1st, where students took to the administrative offices at the 55 East Jackson building in order to speak to President of the university, Father Dennis Holschneider.
We had a sit-in the office outside of President Holschneider's office and demanded that he grant us an audience so that we could demand that tuition be frozen.
After the meeting, protesters staged a sit-in at the Lincoln Park Student Center, where threats to arrest students were made by the Chicago Police Department.
There were 30 police downstairs with 2 wagons and a stack full of zip ties.
And I was threatened to be arrested by a Chicago police officer for trespassing when the building is supposed to be open until 1 a.m.
SGA President Anthony Alfano was also present at the sit-in.
During the protest the night of March 2nd, the students were given different answers on what would happen to them if they were to stay in the student center overnight, and the answers given by the administration seemed to be a little bit arbitrary and a little bit ambiguous. So to make a statement for the students and to the administration, I decided that I did not want my students to get my peers and my fellow students to be arrested by the Chicago Police Department, and that I wanted to sit down in solidarity with them, that if the administration was going to arrest all the students at the protest, they would also have to arrest the student body president.
Students were allowed to stay, but many chose to reconvene the following morning to attend the Board of Trustees meeting. There, Father Holschneider and representatives of several larger corporations approved the tuition increase.
So who is this trustee board that he works for? And that trustee board are heads of and members of the boards of other corporations. To name a few: McDonald's, Blue Cross Blue Shield, ComEd, Tri-Valley Bank, Kellogg's, Cigna, Azteca Foods, Gold Coast Bank, and a horde of other things.
At the forum, students were encouraged to voice questions and comments to an empty row of chairs, designated to administrative officials that did not attend the event.
Please don't think for a moment that because the administration isn't here that they're not going to be called back.
A lack of officials even brought together some surprising guests, including one Loyola faculty member present at the previous meeting held by Father Holschneider.
One of my favorite questions to administrators and faculty members is, what percentage of each paycheck you get every 2 weeks is funded by student debt? And how do you feel about that?
Others included Reverend Attorney Janet Wilson from the Rainbow Push Coalition, who voiced the organization's support, labeling the struggle the issue of our generation.
We support student nonviolent action against tuition increases.
But perhaps the most important question of the night was, what would St. Vincent de Paul do, calling into question the university's patron on matters of his students' future.
A school named after a saint who was spared death during the French Revolution because he cared so much about the poor. I want to know how they sleep at night, knowing that they are charging students their future.
The average undergraduate debt is $28,000. Graduates usually pay $51,000, and law students peak at about $124,000 in student debt. In a discussion with a loan documentation specialist at Harris Bank, students that take out loans to pay for their rising tuition costs are increasingly defaulting due to an inability to meet the incredible costs.
Has been a greater default rate in their loans. People have to actually start to think about what loans they want to pay off first, which ones are more of a priority for a family. And a lot of our students still live at home.
With the median family income at about $51,914 and student debt rising 6% every year, 2009 graduates like Megan Cannon are often forced to rely on their parents' support once more.
But I did move back in with my parents from an apartment in Chicago right when my loans started kicking in and when I had to start paying them back so that I could actually pay them back.
In 2009, about 3,000 students left DePaul University due to their inability to afford a higher education. For students willing to take on the burden of student debts, if that burden outweighs their ability to generate a substantial income, students are prohibited from choosing to file for bankruptcy. They are not granted a bailout, and their debts are not postponed or forgiven. We have yet to hear directly from DePaul ranking officials on how they plan to respond. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Natalia Hernandez.
Whose school? Our school!